Anyone else absolutely shocked that it is March? I feel like this year is flying by. And I know, especially as parents, like we say that all the time. But this year in particular has been crazy in like the best of ways and sometimes like the worst of ways. It's been great. It's been a really fun year for us. And I thought that given the fact that we're already to March, it would be a great time to film a video just sort of checking in with you all. So thank you for clicking into this video and let's just sit down and have a little chat. We are in a very exciting month. It's March. My family has a lot to look forward to. I hope you have a lot to look forward to. Living in Minnesota, it's finally starting to warm up. Spring is around the corner, and we are experiencing that false spring where one day it's 60 degrees and the next day it's 0. I know most people do kind of their New Year resolutions January 1. I did not feel ready this year for that. I had a newborn. Well, she wasn't really newborn anymore. Bennett was, what, like 9 months at that point. But I was still in the thick of it with work, still adjusting to being kind of that full time mom with 3 little kids, and life was crazy. Recovering from the holidays, I just wasn't in a place to be goal setting, to be honest. I knew that I had a leave coming up. Dan and I both took time with the new Minnesota's parental leave program shortly after the holidays. And so I thought, I am just going to wait to start goal setting and kind of getting back into all of that. I just wasn't ready for that. A couple weeks into leave, I started to sleep a little bit better. And I feel like now that March has hit, it's starting to warm up. I'm slowly starting to feel like myself again. I still view myself very much so as postpartum. Bennett, my youngest, is going to be 11 months mid March. So, still very little, not quite 1 year old. Still view myself as postpartum, but I'm getting to the point where I just feel ready to start prioritizing my health. And so I thought making a video about sort of this mental shift might be helpful for some of you as I slide from this sort of survival mode where I'm just trying to get through the day with a young child and 2 little kids, where I'm just like trying to get as much sleep as I can and make it through the day where like I'm cooking dinner and not going through drive-through and paying the bills on time and just getting through the day with my sanity intact. But now I'm trying to shift and be more intentional, really focusing on my health, trying to find ways to optimize my home, finding more time for my family, and in making improvements not only to my personal life, but to my, my family experiences, things like that. And so I thought maybe taking this, this big picture and all of these wants and visions that I have and that my family has and that my husband and I have together and breaking them down. And I love the idea of having like goal videos each month, but really they're more like focuses or intentions for the month because, at the end of the day, I don't anticipate achieving all of these each month. I think I might want to just do sort of check in videos of where my mental state is at. How is this transition going? I think every woman who has gone through pregnancy, and whether it's been an easier pregnancy or harder or really any sort of like big life transition, has this sort of process of sort of finding themselves again. And it might not be back to who you were, it might just be like this new version of yourself. And it's going to take time. And I don't really know what that's going to look like. But I think using this platform as an opportunity to just be very transparent about what my process is looking like and sort of the bumps that I might hit or the victories that I'm going to experience and sort of celebrating with you and talking about it, I hope that maybe will be helpful. With that in mind, each month I'd like to create a video and talk about all of the different things that I have on my mind. Some of the goals, the visions that I have for the month, the hopes, the plans that I have, the things that Dan and I are talking about for maybe the home projects we're talking about planning, some of the family activities we're hoping to do, the intentions, the visions that we have so that we're living in a way that we're dictating the direction of our life and not being dictated to. I feel very optimistic about life right now. I feel very energized and excited about life. And it is a great place to be. I have so much hope, despite the fact that, honestly, right now, waking up in the morning, I'm a little nervous to check my phone and to see what happened while I was sleeping. The news is a little scary right now. And so the fact that I do feel this level of comfort and energy, I think it's my way of kind of having a little bit of control over what's going on in our life. Dan and I are a really great team, and I'm truly happy. I love my family, and I'm really excited about the opportunity of what our life could be. And I think the more intentional that we are with our time and our energy and our focus, the better life can be. There's a few categories that I jotted down some notes in terms of different areas that I'm really trying to focus on in the month of March. I have my physical and mental health, family, my home, and then personal areas of reflection or areas of focus. For the physical and mental health, there's a few different focuses within this category that really stand out to me because I think this is the area that I struggle with the most. If I were to do a life audit, this is the glaring one that would be like, Mayday, Mayday, pay attention to me. This is the one that I've been neglecting for years, and this is the one that honestly needs the most attention. Dan and I are done having kids at this point, and I have this strong desire to really start making my health a priority. It has been on the back burner for a long time, and I am done with that. Many years ago, I was very much so into like weightlifting. I loved running. I have always really just thrived in that environment. And I just lost that. Being pregnant, I was so tired, sick, it just all of the things, right? And then you have a newborn and it's hard. And I personally was not the kind of person that was able to maintain that level of activity when I was pregnant and having a newborn. And then you have little kids on top of it. And I hate to admit that I just lost that part of me and I miss it and I really want it back. And so in the month of March, while I am still on leave, I go back mid-April. I would like March, one of my main focuses, to be getting back into a weightlifting routine. One program that I've used for many years that I really enjoy is it used to be called Beachbody. Now I think it's just called Body. But I would like to do the Lift program again, Lift 4 in particular. It's 4 days a week, total body lifting program. It's manageable. I think it's about 40 minutes approximately each day that you lift. And it pushes you, but it's not as intense as P90X, which is what I used to do. I think it's a really nice balance. And I think that would be a great program just to get back into the swing of things. I need consistency. I need to start pushing myself. And I think doing the Lift program is a great place to start. So Lift is going to be one of my main focuses for the month of March. I also want to get back into cardio again. I love running. That runner's high is huge for me, but it's hard. I've tried a couple times since having Bennett to get back into a running routine, and it is hard on my body. I have not lost the baby weight yet, and so I think just physically, trying to run, it's difficult. And so what I've been thinking is calling it cardio, going for about 130 beats per minute, 12 times a month, and doing that for about 20 minutes or longer. And so that's sort of like my rate of measure, I guess you could say, is trying to keep my heart rate at 130 beats per minute. So I'm sort of in that fat burn slash cardio zone, like right on that line, just to try to help measure and push myself, but not be in an actual like jogging state, maybe necessarily. I think if I can use this time while I'm on leave to try to come up with some sort of schedule and some sort of consistency, knowing that when I go back to work, this is going to change, and that's okay. But getting some sort of foundation going, I think that's what's going to really set me up for success later. And if I can try to get, a little bit of body recomposition, moving in the direction that I need it to, building muscle, losing body fat, that kind of thing, that is great too. That really is the goal in the long run, is body composition. It's not about necessarily losing weight. It's about being healthy and having a long life with my family. And so whatever I need to do to make that happen, that's what I want to do. I want to feel my best. And it's been a few years where I just haven't felt that way. So whatever it needs, whatever is necessary to get me there, like that's what I want to do. That's what I want to prioritize. And I think a big part of that is also being very aware of what my nutrition is like and what I'm prioritizing putting in my body. One of my biggest struggles right now has been late night snacking. That's been a real problem. There's something about that nighttime hustle where we're getting the girls into bed, and it's just like the marathon of the bedtime brushing teeth and bath and cleaning up dinner and the snuggles and getting Bennett down, and you sit on the couch and you're just like, oh, we did it. I just want a bowl of ice cream, or I need to pop some popcorn or something. And then you instantly regret it. And it's been a habit that I've created at this point, and I need to get out of it because like I said, I immediately regret it. So cutting out snacking after the girls go down. I think maybe brushing my teeth right after dinner might help, sort of just as my cue of like, nope, we're done. Because that's just been a problem where it's just an automatic like trigger, like, yep, I'm on the couch, time for a snack. So that I think needs to stop. And I think that will really help me feel better too, and likely sleep better at night. Another area when it comes to nutrition that I'm really struggling with is protein. I'm not a huge meat eater, and so getting proper protein is not something that I'm great at. I'm also not great at tracking macros or anything like that. So if anyone has any sort of tips on tracking macros, it just seems so tedious. I'm not great at like sitting and Googling like, oh, how many grams of protein is in like a sausage. I'm not great at that. So trying to increase protein, if you have any tips or tricks, I've done things like buying those Chobani yogurt drinks because it's like 20 grams of protein. Like, okay, that's easy. Protein bar or protein shake, things like that. They're just easy to measure that way. But when it comes to like making a high protein dinner and saying like, okay, I need to calculate how much protein is in this, that's a pain in the butt. So if anyone has any tips on that, I'm all ears. Love to hear your tips and tricks because that's something I struggle with, but I know I need to increase protein, especially if I'm starting a weightlifting program and I really want to maximize on that. Increasing protein is huge. I'm also 36. I'm going to be 37 in March. And so I'm aging, and I think increasing protein is huge as I try to continue to build muscle as I age. Another area that I think would be really important when it comes to health is looking into what types of vitamins would be important as I age to continue to take or to introduce into my diet. As of now, I'm taking creatine every day. I believe it's 5 milligrams that I'm taking, and then I do vitamin D and B12. I know that there are other things that I've seen online that I just need to do more research. But as I'm getting closer to 40, Not quite at that perimenopause stage, but like as I'm getting closer, that is something that I want to look into. And I know a lot of women, even at my age now, are starting to look into like getting hormones checked out and things like that. And so, really, right now, I think at this stage of life, I want to do my best to physically improve by building muscle, getting better body composition, improving like my vitamin intake, eating whole foods, those types of things. That's what I want to focus on right now. And then if in a few years I'm still feeling kind of that fatigue, even after my kids get a little bit older, then I think looking into hormones might be something that I'm interested in. I know it's something that a lot of women, though, feel like I'm hearing it be spoken about a lot more lately. And so it's something that is on my radar. It's not something that I'm personally interested in at this point, but it's something that I haven't ruled out. I'm hoping that just living a healthier lifestyle, things like incorporating walks more as it's starting to get warmer. My family loves going on walks, maybe after dinner as it starts to warm up, or before dinner even, like as soon as we get the girls from school. That would be great. Would love to incorporate that back into our routine as a family as it starts to warm up. But, just in general, just moving our body more, being outside more, I think all of that is going to make a huge difference. And that's just part of the excitement of spring coming. Like in Minnesota, winter can be really hard. And so being outside and all that comes along with that it's exciting. And I'm really looking forward to it. One change that I'm contemplating trying out while I'm on leave in order to have a smoother transition when I go back to work is waking up at 5 a.m. And this is something that I hear sort of influencers or productivity experts recommend all the time. And honestly, I don't know how I feel about this. With 3 little kids, this sounds miserable. I work 4 10-hour shifts at my job. So I work Mondays and Tuesdays from 6 a.m. to 4:30. And I do this, and then Thursdays and Fridays. So I have Wednesdays off. And the reason for this is essentially to ensure that I have more time to get things done around the house, that I am able to be with the girls more. We basically just have more flexibility as a family by setting up my schedule this way. One area that I used to struggle with after returning to work when I had Bennett was, where am I going to fit in my workout during the workday? So I work 4 days a week, 10-hour shifts. So I work pretty long days. I have the benefit of working from home most days. I work 1 day a week in the office as of now. That will likely change. I'll probably be in the office more often starting next fall. But as of now, it's 1 day a week. So it's pretty manageable. And so typically what I do is I work out over the lunch hour. So I make it work. But one thing I've been contemplating is, does it make sense to try to squeeze in a workout in before work? Starting work at 6 a.m. means I'm working out at like 4:30 in the morning. So one thing I need to decide is if I want to maybe start attempting to work out at like 5 a.m. in March and just give it a try. Part of me feels like that's insane. But productivity experts have recommended this for years and years and years. The thought of waking up that early to work out seems impossible, especially with little kids. I don't know. So that's definitely something that I might try in March, even if it's just for like a couple weeks and just see how I like it. If I could get into a rhythm, I think that would be awesome, because then I do have my lunch hour to get things done on my work days, starting in April when I go back. So I guess we'll see. I think that's something that I'll need to talk to Dan about and just really be on the same page, because that means that, if I'm working out and Bennett wakes up early, he's going to have to be up with her. And so that's going to put a lot of pressure on him to be up with her every morning if, I'm downstairs working out. So, I think that's definitely something that I'm going to be considering if this is going to truly be a priority to me. Working out and getting these in, is how are we going to make it work? There's only so many hours in the day. And Dan is also prioritizing his health journey. And so it's one of those things where it is like a dance trying to fit everything in, especially when you have competing interests. It's like the family time, the fitness, the making dinners from scratch. It's all important. And so I think trial and error is key. And that's what March I think is going to be for me is it's so much trial and error. At the end of the day, I think what's the harm in trying? And the good news is we're on the right path. We're making the right decisions and we're prioritizing the right things. And I think that is really exciting. A few focuses and intentions for family for the month of March really have to do with finding a sense of peace and calm. The world around us right now just seems a little chaotic and, to be honest, a little scary. As I mentioned earlier, I wake up every morning and I get these news headline alerts from the New York Times. And I get a little scared to even open my phone at times. And I think having a focus on setting up our home and finding activities for our family that just bring peace and calm and comfort is exactly what we need for the month of March. When things feel out of control outside, I think finding ways to slow down inside the home is the best way to kind of counteract that. And so for my family for the month of March, really where I'm going to be putting my priorities and my focus will be things like creating a seasonal bucket list. I would love to sit down with the girls and say, what do you want to do in this spring? What are you excited for? Dan, what are you looking forward to? What sort of projects do you want to do around the house? What are you really looking forward to? I would love to start planning our garden expansion. That's one thing that I was looking forward to really all summer. We love gardening. I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm learning, and I am excited about the idea of maybe adding another garden bed or two. The girls are learning with me. I would love to learn how to can. That's something that's been on my list for a while. And so if we could maybe build a garden bed or two and figure out, what vegetables we want to add, look into maybe some new flowers that we'd like to add to the front yard, things like that. Just think about ways to improve our home and bring peace and calm into our life when things around us maybe don't feel so peaceful and calm. Another thing that I would be doing, that I'd like to do in the month of March, is sit down with Dan and really just black out as much as we can on our calendar in terms of like weekends and plans. Not necessarily canceling plans that we've already made or commitments that we've made, but not only for the month of March, but really all summer. I would love to just keep our calendar as light as possible. And this sort of runs counter to how we've done things in the past. We've always liked to be very busy. We're very active people. We have a lot of friends and family that we love spending time with. But I would love to be a little more spontaneous this summer and not feel so beholden to our calendar, telling us where we need to be and when and with who, and just have a little more freedom. And so I think taking some time to sit down with Dan and the girls and just say what's really important to us and carve out that time, but then basically kind of block out the rest and just see what happens. I think that would be a good use of our time in March. And then the last thing that I'd like to do is talk with Dan about starting up our weekly meetings again. Sort of I don't know what to call it. It's sort of like our spousal meetings. We used to do this before kids, and I would say even after we had Cora, we did this quite often. We used to call it family coffee time. But basically, it was our time where we would meet each Saturday and we would have coffee and we'd go over our bills for the week. We would talk about what was on the calendar, if there were any like documents that needed to be completed or emails, mail that needed to be read, anything going on that we needed to discuss. And it was something that we did every week, and it was really helpful. it was just time for me and Dan to sit and talk. And the more kids we had, the more chaotic and crazy our mornings got, and it just sort of got away from us. And that was something that I feel like really helped keep our weeks grounded because it gave us time to connect in the morning. And it wasn't when the kids were asleep and we were exhausted, where we're just staring into our phones and like sort of talking to each other or sending like a funny meme or something back and forth. I would love to have that back. That's something that would be a great goal, is if we could get back on the rhythm of having that time together, even if it was just a smaller version of it. I would love that habit back. And so that's something that I'm going to talk to Dan about in hopes that we can maybe get into some sort of a rhythm of that weekly or bi-weekly meeting. I think that would be really great. And just see sort of what comes out of those meetings. And if that's something that we kind of succeed at, I'd love to share with sort of what those meetings look like with you all. And if you do any sort of meeting like that, I'd love to hear about, what you cover in those meetings and how that's helpful. I think it's really hard to manage a family and all of the calendars, the requirements in terms of like different medical appointments and school calendars and all the to-dos and all the special school dress-up days and all of the everything. And so having time with your spouse where you sit and communicate and like an intentional communication methods, I think that alone could be a separate video. So if that's something that you're interested in, just in general of how you communicate with your spouse, let me know in the comments, because I think that could honestly just be, like I said, a whole standalone video. But yeah, I think those are the main things for family that I'd really like to focus on, is just really trying to bring more calm and peace and less stress into our home. When it comes to areas in our house that we would like to really focus on in the month of March, setting up different areas that we can essentially like automate or create systems, routines, things like that. Anything we can do to make our transition back to work smoother is going to be a definite focus. One area that I personally would like to focus on is finding ways to utilize our storage better. We have quite a few different closets and cabinets, things like that, that are either empty or just underutilized. And so that's something that I would really like to focus on this month. Another area is we have various things throughout the house that are just like broken or need to be fixed up. I have a big storage like cabinet that I need to sand and restain, walls that need to be repaired, a fireplace that has like a part that needs to be replaced that I know has been on Dan's list for a while. It's just all these little annoying things that we have had on a list for a while that we kept saying like, oh, well, we'll have a leave coming up that we can take care of all this stuff. And then our leave happened and it's like we blinked and the leave is over. And so I think trying to get through as much of this list without sacrificing the enjoyment of what we have left of our leave will really help, because then we're not dealing with this stuff when we're back at work. So any ways that we can come up with systems or automation within our home, or things that we can fix, that's definitely going to be a priority in March. Also going through and finding better management for kids' clothes. This has been the bane of my existence, is finding ways to manage my girls' clothes, whether it's storage for like larger sizes or clothes that like Cora outgrew. Cora's my soon to be 6-year-old that Ellie's not quite big enough for yet, or Ellie's outgrown and Bennett has a few years before she's going to grow into it. Or like it's like one size too big and I want it to be ready, and it's like a mess. And so I'd like to spend some time to research how to better organize kids' clothes. Right now I can show you in maybe another video later this month how I currently have my clothing set up for the girls, but it's not pretty, and I would love to come up with something that just makes more sense. I think there's a lot of value in taking hand-me-downs from people when it's offered to you. So I have clothes right now through size 10, I believe. And so right now I've got like a ton of bins in our garage. And I don't want to get rid of them. I want to come up with a system that works. but man, it's a pain in the butt. So if I could come up with something that just helps the flow of clothes work a little bit better, that would be great. Not the end of the world if I don't come up with it, but that would be awesome if I could come up with something. And just even just organization in their closet. Like, because right now with Minnesota, you've got summer clothes, you've got spring and fall type clothes, and then you've got winter clothes. And it's just this, the seasons are so drastically different. It's not like living in, Florida where, yeah, you have some variation, but for the most part, it's fairly consistent weather. It's just all over the place here, and so it's a struggle. Another thing that I'd like to work on is coming up with better car storage and backups. I can't tell you how many times I feel like I've got backup clothes, I've got everything that we need, medicine, extra diapers, whatever, and we're out and about. And sure enough, there's an accident or someone spills something, someone's sick, whatever, and we don't have what we need. That is frustrating as someone that's type A that feels like they have everything under control, and the reality is I don't. As the season starts changing and we're going to be out and about and at parks and going to parties and things like that, more beaches, I would love to have a better system and organizational structure in our vehicle where we have backups ready to go, backups in our stroller ready to go, things like that. And so I would like to spend some time getting that set up. Another area that Dan and I have been working on that I would love to spend a little bit of time in March, in all of our free time, is looking into the transitional style of decorating. I have been trying to understand my decorating style for years, and I think after doing some research, I think I've learned that I align with the transitional style. You may call me out in the comments that that's not correct as you learn and see my home. But from what I'm understanding, I think I align with transitional the most. And, as part of just wanting to create a comfortable, cozy home for myself and my family, that's definitely something that I'm wanting to lean into. So this is just sort of more for fun, I guess you could say, but trying to learn more about the transitional style and kind of keeping an eye out for affordable pieces that I can start incorporating into the home just to make it more comfortable here and more cohesive. Dan and I both received a lot of sort of hand-me-downs and just bought like sort of cheap furniture and stuff as we were in college and when we bought our first home. And a lot of the things that we have currently today is still left over from our college years. And so it would be nice just to slowly replace things and be more intentional about, the decor and things we have in our home. Buying, items because it's what fits our lives now and not just by happenstance or because it was affordable back in our 20s. So that's definitely something that I'd love to look into, and it's just sort of like a focus or something that's been on my mind. The garage is one of those areas that is underutilized. We have a lot of items in there, and it's not living up to what it could be. So definitely spending some more time in the garage to get it better organized so we're not wasting so much space and it just not being so cluttered would definitely serve us in the long run. All right, and for the last area of focus is personal. And as a mom, this is probably one of the harder areas for me to really prioritize. The first thing that I would really like to focus on that honestly I miss more than anything is reading. And as funny as it sounds, it's not even a matter of time for me. Well, it is. It is. I am always going to prioritize doing other things like cleaning and spending time with my kids than sitting down and reading a physical book. That almost basically never happens. I am always going to find an excuse because as much as I love to read, it's like the guilt kicks in and I don't know what my deal is, but I cannot allow myself to sit and read. Really where I'm probably most successful is if I'm cleaning, I can put on an audiobook. And that's where I really do manage to get some reading done. I don't know if you consider an audiobook reading or not. Where I do manage to read a physical book a little bit is at night or early morning. The funny thing though is, I don't know if you have this problem, but if I try to read at night, I get like 2 pages in and I pass out immediately. I fall asleep instantly. So really where I'm most successful reading is at like 5 in the morning. And honestly, I feel like my kids hear my eyelids open in the morning. Like if I were to wake up at 4:30 with the intent to read, my kids would be like, "Oh, mom's up. Must be time to wake up." And they will be up at 4:30, even though they're normally up at 6. It's the weirdest thing. So I'm going to say read one book a month, which is pathetically low. And I'm going to even make it more pathetic by saying either audio or physical. I would love to get to a point where I allow myself the ability to sit and read a physical book. I just don't think I'm in the place, I guess, in life right now where I can do that without feeling guilty. And I know that's not okay. And maybe this summer, if, the girls are outside playing and Dan's doing his thing, I can sit outside and read. The girls are playing and, the gate's closed and we're good. But right now, I have a hard time with that. And that's something that I need to work on. But right now, I'm going to just say read one book a month. That's going to be my kind of generic month to month goal. We'll see how it goes. I'm hoping to increase that because I love reading. I love reading fiction books. I miss it, but it's just hard right now. Another thing that I'd like to do is improve self-care, and that's things like skincare. I've purchased some BioElement products. I'm pretty good at using them, not every single day. I'd like to do that more. I'm terrible at doing my nails. I'd like to make that a priority. Just really prioritizing just like some me time. And that doesn't mean like necessarily like kid-free me time. Like even if they're hanging out with me while I do it, it's just taking a couple minutes just for me to prioritize taking care of myself, like doing my makeup. It's rare to even do my makeup at this point. And so I think that would be really helpful for my own just mental health. Prioritizing sleep, I think for the most part, I'm pretty good at that. It's really more of an issue with broken sleep, and that I have no control over. But continuing to try to get as close to 8 hours as I can will help. One thing that is something that I've been working on for a long time, and I have been getting better about it, is recognizing friends and family's milestones like in life more. And this is something that I think is really important when life gets busy. I think it's more important because it's showing others that no matter how busy your life is, they're still important to you. And so one tip that I would like to share, and this is what I want to do this more and be in a better habit of it. But I've been using my Google Calendar to try to remind myself of big events that come up for my friends or family. Reminders to check in, like maybe there's an important medical appointment, whether it's a scary medical appointment or an exciting one. Or maybe it's a big work event that they have coming up. It's a wedding anniversary. Or maybe it's just like a reminder to check in on a friend that you haven't talked to in a while, and it's a recurring reminder. Having a tool like just, Google Calendar to just set a reminder is a really highly underutilized tool for someone whose mom brain has a million tabs open, and it is very easy to not realize how much time has passed. It's not that I don't care about my friends and family. That's not it at all. It's that I just honestly don't realize how much time truly has passed. And I don't want my friends and family to think that I don't care about them. And so I use the Google Calendar to help keep my head on straight, because I honestly blink and it's like, oh my gosh, 3 months have passed and I haven't talked to this person. And so I am getting better at using the Google Calendar for this purpose, but I'm still not anywhere near where I'd like to be. And so definitely increasing that. So I'd like to sit down and maybe put in some more reminders. Also using it just in general for like a second brain. Things like maybe adding maintenance reminders, cleaning reminders. Things like, oh, I've got to clean the coffee pot, like do a deep clean, put that reminder in and have it be recurring. Maybe an oil change reminder, things like that. Just so automation, things so my brain doesn't have to remember all this. Schedule doctor's appointments, whatever I can do to automate or set reminders so that I don't have to keep that tab open and have that kind of sit in the back of my brain. It could be very helpful when I go back to work and I just don't have to, again, have that on repeat. And then lastly, I think, and most important personal focus for March is just to constantly remember what's really most important for this month, and that is to spend time with my family and to remember how lucky we are, because life is so unpredictable, and seeing what's going on in the world right now, I'm just so grateful. I'm grateful for the time that we've had on this leave and seeing Dan's leave come to an end, and mine will be shortly after his. My family means everything to me, and they are such a huge motivator. So to me, taking this month to really soak in every minute that we have together before Dan goes back to work and before I go back to work, and setting ourselves up for success, that is the best use of time that I can have. Playing together, making memories, being outside as it starts to get warmer, and being in a really positive mindset. Despite what's happening in the world, like, we don't have control over that. I'm just feeling really good. I'm feeling really positive, and I'm excited to see what's to come. I'm looking forward to checking in with you in a month, see how things go. I'd love to hear from you, love to hear about what you have in store for your March. Thanks so much. Talk to you soon.